Friday, November 10th, 1775. In the absolute worst part of town,
God save King George!
Inside Philadelphia's rowdiest tavern, a man in a tricorn hat slammed his mug on the bar and shouted a challenge that would echo for centuries. Who wants to kill Redcoats? His name? Samuel Nicholas. And that night, inside the Tun Tavern, the world's premier life-taking service was born.
I think we came to the right place.
In World War I, when the French begged them to retreat, a Marine named Lloyd Williams growled back, "Retreat? Hell, we just got here." Lloyd and his Marines proceeded to charge uphill through poison gas and withering machine gun fire and earned a new name from the enemy himself, Devil Dogs. In World War II, a Japanese admiral boasted that 1,000,000 men couldn't take Tarawa in 100 years. The Marines took it in 3 days. Iraqi jihadists believed every Marine had to kill a family member just to earn the title. But Eleanor Roosevelt said it best. The Marines have the cleanest bodies, the filthiest minds, the highest morale, and the lowest morals of any group of animals I've ever seen. This is the unbelievable true story of America's attack dog, the United States
going on YouTube.
Marine Corps.
Pray! This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. My rifle is my best friend. It is my life.
I must master it as I must master my life. Without me, my rifle is useless. Without my rifle, I am useless.
I must fire my rifle true. I must shoot straighter than my enemy who is trying to kill me. I must shoot him before he shoots me. I will. Before God, I swear this creed. My rifle and myself are defenders of my country. We are the masters of our enemy. We are the saviors of my life. So be it, until there is no enemy, but peace. Amen.
In the roughest part of town, the smell of gunpowder mixed with ale. And inside the toughest bar in Philly, Tun Tavern, a man slammed his mug on the bar and shouted, "Who wants to kill Redcoats?" That man was Captain Samuel Nicholas, a Philadelphia merchant who knew every sailor, brawler, and dockhand from Market Street to the river. America hadn't even declared independence, but it was already at war. The Continental Army had formed in June, the Navy in October. And now Congress needed a fighting force that could do both. Soldiers who could fight on land and at sea. John Adams drafted the resolution. 2 battalions of Marines. They had no uniforms, no pay, no glory waiting at the end of it. The only promise their new commandant could offer was the chance to kill Redcoats. And kill Redcoats they did. By December, he had 5 companies drilling on the docks of Philadelphia, using broomsticks for rifles. In early 1776, those men boarded the first American fleet under Commodore Esek Hopkins. Their mission? Strike British positions in the Bahamas and seize desperately needed gunpowder. The fleet landed at New Providence Island, stormed the beaches, and took the fort, the first amphibious assault in American history. They brought home 24 barrels of powder and a new legend. The United States Marines had arrived. Throughout the Revolution, Marines fought wherever the fight took them, from the rigging of ships and the decks of men of war to the muddy fields of battle on shore. They manned the cannons, stormed enemy vessels, and fought up close with bayonets and musket fire. They fought in the Atlantic, in the Caribbean, and along the eastern seaboard, never many in number, but always at the center of the fight. When the war ended in victory, their job was done. The Navy disbanded, the Marines with it. But freedom never stays free for long. By 1798, America had enemies again. Barbary pirates, preying on merchant ships in the Mediterranean Sea. President John Adams reestablished the Navy and permanently brought back the Marine Corps. This time, they were here to stay. The act creating the Corps declared that Marines would serve aboard ships, protect naval installations, and fight on land whenever the president ordered. It made them something new, America's naval infantry, hard men who fought on deck, on the beach, or in the mud, wherever the fight showed up first. And when diplomacy failed, they were the first ones through the breach. After attempting to reason with the Barbary pirates, they laughed in America's face, which probably wasn't the best idea. Because newly minted President Thomas Jefferson decided to let his young Marine Corps off of their leash. A handful of Marines and mercenaries marched across 500 miles of burning desert toward the city of Derna in modern-day Libya. Their leader, Lieutenant Presley O'Bannon. In front of him and his men, a massive fortress bristling with guns. Under naval fire from offshore, O'Bannon led his men straight into the storm. They scaled the walls, took the fort, and raised the American flag over foreign soil for the first time. The march on Derna became legend, immortalized in the Marine hymn, "To the Shores of Tripoli." In gratitude, the Allied prince, Hamet Karamanli, presented O'Bannon with a curved Mameluke sword. It became the model, still worn by Marine officers to this very day. Not long after, during the War of 1812, the British came again. At Bladensburg, 78 Marines and Navy sailors faced an entire British column. The militia ran. The Marines stood. They fired until they were surrounded and nearly wiped out. When the British burned Washington, D.C., they spared the Marine commandant's house, out of respect for those who'd fought like lions. It's the same house where every commandant since has lived. Weeks later, at New Orleans, Marines fought under Andrew Jackson, holding the line as volleys of musket fire tore through the smoke. 2,000 British fell. Fewer than a dozen Marines were lost. It was the kind of fight that defined them, few in number, fierce in spirit, and disciplined beyond measure. During the Mexican-American War, Marines under Major Levi Twiggs stormed the fortress of Chapultepec Castle, high above Mexico City. They climbed the walls under cannon fire and musket shot, scaling ladders slick with blood and smoke. When they broke through, they took the city itself. From that day forward, the red stripe running down Marine dress trousers, the blood stripe, honored those who fell in the assault. And the next line of the Marine hymn was born. From the halls of Montezuma. When Civil War split the nation, Marines found themselves fighting on both sides, blue and gray. They served on ships, at river batteries, and in naval landings from New Orleans to Charleston. In 1862, at Drury's Bluff, Corporal John Mackey fought through a storm of Confederate fire aboard the USS Galena to man his gun when others fell. He became the first Marine awarded the Medal of Honor. After the war, the Corps returned to sea, suppressing pirates, guarding legations, and landing where the Navy needed muscle. They fought in Korea in 1871, Panama in 1885, and the Caribbean almost constantly. By the late 1800s, the Marine Corps had its identity: expeditionary, disciplined, always faithful. They adopted a new motto that captured their soul: Semper Fidelis, always faithful. Europe was burning. America joined the fight. When U.S. forces arrived in France, few knew what to expect from the Marines. They were small, traditional. The army called them old-fashioned. Then came Belleau wood. The Germans had driven deep into the French lines. The Marines were ordered to stop them. As they took position, French officers begged them to retreat. Captain Lloyd Williams replied, "Retreat? Hell, we just got here. The battle was a nightmare. Gas, artillery, and machine guns shredding trees into splinters. Marines crawled through fields of wheat, choking on mustard gas, bayonets fixed, their rifles slick with sweat and mud. They attacked again and again. Uphill through forests so thick you could smell the blood before you saw it. When the smoke cleared, the Germans had been stopped cold. They called the Marines Teufelshunde, devil dogs. It wasn't a nickname, it was a warning. More than 9,000 Marines were killed or wounded at Belleau Wood. But they had changed the way the world saw American fighting men. From then on, wherever they landed, the enemy knew what was coming. By war's end, the Marine Corps was no longer an afterthought. It was a promise, if challenged, and America unleashed its attack dog. Somebody's in for a world of hurt. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor burns. Within hours, the nation is at war. But before America can even catch its breath, the Marines are already fighting back, 2,000 miles to the west, on a lonely atoll called Wake Island. Fewer than 450 Marines prepare to face an invasion fleet of nearly 10,000 Japanese. In a sneak attack almost identical to Pearl Harbor, Japanese bombers dropped out of the clouds and hammered Wake Island's airfield, wiping out half of its defenses in minutes. Only a handful of F-4F Wildcats were left to fight back. Among them was Captain Henry Hammer and Hank Elrod, who shot down 2 bombers in one fight, then sent a destroyer down to Davy Jones's locker. The first of many to follow. But the odds are impossible. Day by day, the Wildcats are shot down or destroyed on the ground until the sky over Wake belongs entirely to the enemy. So Elrod trades his flight gear for a rifle and joins the Marines on the line. When the final assault hits, he moves from position to position under machine gun fire, throwing grenades and covering his men until he's killed in action. Wake Island falls after 15 days, but not before the Marines deliver Imperial Japan's first defeat of the war. For his actions, Elrod becomes the first Marine aviator to earn the Medal of Honor. By sunrise, the next chapter of Marine history is already being written, Guadalcanal. 6 months of jungle, rain, and misery. Malaria eats at the men. Food and ammunition run thin. Every night, the Japanese come through the palms screaming with bayonets and grenades. Every morning, the Marines are still there, filthy, starving, but unbroken. Their commander is Colonel Louis B. Chesty Puller, a man carved out of discipline and raw nerve. He stalks the lines with a cigar in his teeth, calm as death itself, reminding his men what Marines do when the odds turn ugly. When his battalion is surrounded, Puller doesn't blink. "We're not retreating," he growls. "We're just attacking in another direction." For 7 straight nights around Henderson Field, his outnumbered Marines beat back wave after wave of assaults. When the final Japanese attack collapses, Puller surveys the field and mutters, "They can't get away now." Guadalcanal belongs to the Marines. Then comes Tarawa. A coral reef stops the landing craft short, leaving Marines to wade hundreds of yards through chest-deep water under direct machine gun fire. Boats burn, men vanish, and surf turned red, but the line never breaks. 76 hours later, the island is secure. Almost every Japanese soldier is dead. The price is staggering, but Tarawa proves one thing to friend and foe alike. The Marines can take anything, anywhere. At Saipan, Peleliu, and Okinawa, the brutality only grows. Flamethrowers clear caves, bulldozers bury bunkers. Artillery never stops. Entire divisions grind forward yard by yard, and behind every blast and crater stands a Marine who refuses to give ground. By the time they reach Iwo Jima, it's down to 5 square miles of volcanic rock. The black sand swallows boots. Mortars fall by the minute. Every cave hides a gun, every ridge another ambush. 36 days of slaughter. When 6 Marines raise the flag on Mount Suribachi, a general watching from the beach turns and says, "That flag raising will ensure a Marine Corps for the next 500 years." He's right. By the end of the war, the Marines have fought across an ocean, toppled an empire, and built a reputation carved in blood and ash. more than 19,000 Marines are killed. But from the Pacific's firestorms rises something immortal. The legend of the United States Marine Corps, a brotherhood the enemy never again dares to underestimate. Communist North Korea storms across the 38th parallel. Once again, the Marines are first in. General Douglas MacArthur orders an amphibious landing at Incheon, a harbor everyone says is impossible. The tides rise 25 feet and fall again like clockwork. The Marines land anyway. Within days, they retake Seoul. Then the Chinese enter the war. 3 million screaming communists pour across the border. 30,000 Marines at the Chosin Reservoir suddenly find themselves surrounded by 60,000 Chinese troops. Temperatures drop to 40 below. Weapons freeze. Blood freezes. The wind cuts like razors through parkas stiff with ice. Their commander? Chesty Puller again. Now a colonel, older but no less ruthless. When told the division was surrounded, he growled, "Good." That simplifies things. For 17 days, they fought through snow, blizzards, and ambushes. Every mile was earned with blood. They evacuated their wounded and carried their dead, refusing to leave a single Marine behind. They fought their way out and brought the Army 10th Corps with them. Reporters asked Puller how it felt to be surrounded. He said, "We're just attacking in every direction." The legend was sealed. By the time they reached the sea, the 1st Marine Division had destroyed 7 Chinese divisions. At Chosin, the cold broke everything but them. Vietnam. No front lines, no clear enemy, just jungle, heat, and death in every tree line. The Marines landed at Da Nang, the first major U.S. combat troops on the ground. Their mission was simple: hold the line while politicians debated the war. It wasn't simple for long. In the hills near Chosin, they dug into red clay bunkers as mortars rained down for 77 days. Sleep came in short bursts. Meals were cold sea rations eaten under fire. Every inch of ground cost lives. At Hue City, the enemy launched the Tet Offensive, a nationwide surprise attack. Marines fought house to house through the old imperial city, clearing buildings with grenades, shotguns, and sheer will. The streets ran with mud, rain, and blood. They fought block by block for nearly a month, until the last enemy stronghold fell. And through it all, there were men like Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Hathcock, a sniper who turned patience into art. He crawled for 3 days through the grass to take out an enemy commander, then disappeared into the jungle. He once shot an enemy sniper through his own scope. The North Vietnamese put a $30,000 bounty on his head. He walked away alive. The war dragged on. Politics tangled everything. But through it, the Marines never changed. They fought for the man beside them, not the speeches in Washington. By 1975, the last Americans in Saigon were Marines, holding the embassy roof as helicopters lifted the final evacuees into the sky. Smoke rose behind them. The city fell. But the Marines stood their post until the last second. They came home to a divided nation, spit on by some, ignored by others. But within the Corps, the bond held. They had fought with honor, bled together, and proven again that no matter the politics, the Marines answer the call. They left something else behind, a reputation among the Vietnamese that still echoes today. Even their enemies called them the toughest men they ever faced.
Sitting in Lebanon with nothing to do, just listen to the arty and the sniper shots too. Once in a while when it's really slow, we hear the EOD really let one know.
I know there are no words that can express our sorrow and grief over the loss of those splendid young men.
Marines deployed as peacekeepers in a civil war with no peace to keep. At 6:22 a.m., October 23rd, a truck packed with explosives crashed through the barracks gates. The blast leveled the building. 241 Americans were killed. 220 were Marines. It was the Corps' deadliest day since Iwo Jima. The wreckage burned through the morning, the air thick with smoke and sorrow. But the mission didn't die there. The Marines mourned, then went right back to work. They learned a harsh lesson that day. In modern war, there are no safe zones.
Just 2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait.
8 years later, they reminded the world what the other side of that coin looks like. Operation Desert Storm, 1991. 90,000 Marines stormed into Kuwait, blasting through Iraqi minefields and defenses in just 100 hours. They liberated a nation before the world had time to change the channel. Precision, discipline, speed. It was the new face of an old promise. First to fight.
Tactical task to breathe fire has now been issued. Good to go. You will breathe fire day in and day out for the next 2 months. You will breathe fire in your sleep. You will feel fatigue. You will feel fear. You will feel happiness. You will feel regret. You will feel sadness. At the end of the day, you will continue to breathe fire. Good to go. Okay, with that said.
September 11th, 2001. A quiet morning shattered by fire and steel. When the towers fell, the Marines were already preparing to move. Within weeks, they were in the mountains of Afghanistan, among America's first, boots on the ground. They called the mission Operation Enduring Freedom, and the Marines called it what it was, payback. They seized Kandahar, the Taliban's birthplace, faster than anyone thought possible. They hunted Al-Qaeda through freezing passes, fought from caves, and dug in on hillsides where the air was too thin to breathe. They brought the fight to the enemy's home turf, just as they'd done for centuries. 2 years later, they were on the move again, this time in Iraq. The invasion of 2003 was lightning fast. Marines roared north toward Baghdad in armored columns stretching for miles. Sandstorms turned the sky orange. Tracer rounds carved green lines through the night. In 3 weeks, the regime collapsed. But the real war, the hard one, was still ahead. Cities turned into minefields. Roads hid bombs under the dust. The enemy didn't wear uniforms or follow rules. It was a sniper's war, a roadside war, a house-to-house war.
Target!
Then came Fallujah, 2004. A city of 500,000, held by insurgents who turned it into a fortress. Every doorway wired, every rooftop armed. The Marines went in anyway. They called it Operation Phantom Fury. Battalions fought street by street, kicking in doors and clearing entire blocks under constant fire. The air reeked of smoke, diesel, and blood. Artillery rumbled day and night. The noise never stopped. Sergeants led from the front. Lance corporals kicked down doors. Corpsmen worked in hallways filled with dust and screams. They fought for each other, not headlines. By the time it was over, Fallujah was rubble, but the enemy was gone. It was the fiercest urban battle since Hue City in Vietnam, and once again, the Marines had done what others couldn't or wouldn't. Among them was Corporal Jason Dunham, a young squad leader from CO, New York. When a grenade rolled near his men, he pulled his helmet over it and threw himself on top. He saved his brothers and gave his life. For that, he was awarded the Medal of Honor, and remembered as every Marine hopes to be remembered, as a man who put his brothers first. In those years, Marines fought from Helmand Province to Ramadi, from Najaf to Marja. They trained allies, guarded embassies, and delivered aid in places most Americans couldn't find on a map. They became masters of adaptation, switching from combat to peacekeeping to humanitarian relief in a single day. Every generation has its crucible. For this one, it was sand and fire. The Marines who came home from Iraq and Afghanistan brought their lessons with them. They'd seen how fast war could change, how enemies could hide behind civilians, how drones and data could shape the battlefield, and the Corps changed with it. The focus shifted to mobility, precision, and speed. Small, lethal units that could strike anywhere on Earth, the rebirth of the Expeditionary Marine. Today, they deploy an F-35B Lightning IIs that hover like hornets and strike with pinpoint accuracy. They ride into battle on V-22 Ospreys, flying faster and farther than any helicopter before them. And when they hit the beach, it's in new amphibious combat vehicles, built for the next war, not the last one. But technology isn't what makes the Marines different. It never has been. It's the heart, the mindset, the creed. Every Marine still earns the title through the same crucible, the same rifle range, the same obstacle course, the same 13 weeks of hell that strip you down and rebuild you from the inside out. Ask any Marine who's worn the uniform, and they'll tell you, boot camp isn't where you learn to fight. It's where you learn what you're fighting for. You see it in the quiet professionalism of embassy guards standing post at 2 a.m. in hostile cities. You see it in humanitarian missions after hurricanes and earthquakes, Marines wading through floodwater to pull strangers to safety. You see it in the discipline, the bearing, and the simple pride of being part of something older and tougher than yourself. Because while other branches changed names, roles, and missions, the Marines never forgot theirs. First to fight, always faithful, always ready. If you'd like to support my work in preserving the legacy of America's fighting spirit, please drop a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. For 250 years, the United States Marine Corps has stood as this nation's shield and its sword, born in a bar, forged in battle, and faithful ever since. Was it discipline, courage, or something deeper that's kept this brotherhood unbreakable for 2.5 centuries? Whatever you believe, I want to hear it below. You'll find historical documents, official citations, and primary sources linked in the description. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got more tales of American grit, courage, and sacrifice on the way. I'm Matt, and this is the American Military Network, where the legends of our nation's warriors live on. And for all the jarheads watching, happy 250th birthday, Semper Fi, and may God bless the United States of America.